25 seconds to go. The start line's going to appear to the right of our screen. There it is. It's red at the moment. When it turns white, we're good to race. We can see that pole position, and Slingsby on Australia looks perfectly lined up, but Will Burling managed to find that gap through. He looks like he's got an opportunity. It's going to be a question of timing now. Time and distance to the line. All about hitting this line at full speed. Who's timed it right? At the top of the line, has the Swiss got a gap? I think there's not going to be room in there. Watch for it going light.
It's Australia and GBR OCS over the line early. Delayed start of Spain, delayed start of Spain.
Big moment there, Australia and Great Britain. There must have been millimetres in that. They must now drop to the back of the fleet. They don't have to get behind the Spanish, but everyone else. Great news for Contant de la Pierre, as I think the French are going to lead us away to Mark 1.
So the Spain Sail Grand Prix is off and running as they make their way to mark number 1. Great position by the French, also the Kiwis in the mix, and the Americans.
The United States have got the faster angle in across the New Zealand boat here, Todd, but I think the French are going to hang in there. It's going to be tight, and as they head towards that Cadiz shoreline, we can expect the waves to get bigger, we can expect it to become more unstable, and the next time they turn the boat could be the crucial manoeuvre here. How can these... Look at the New Zealand boat is bucking around in the background. They're trying to get things going, but the United States, they're foiling hard and fast and look like they're going to drive over the top.
Hannah, how important is it to be the first ones to blink, the first ones to make the moves, and it comes from Canada?
Yeah, well, I think it's most important to make the move and make it good, and not fall off the foils and not make a hard time of it in this really tricky swell that we're seeing.
On board the Canadians, that's Georgia there at the back, Llewellyn of France, just saying, I think 1 and in. She means I think we can turn one more time and make it to gate 2. I think today, every time you turn the boat, as Hannah said, it's a lot of risk. If you make a mistake, you could lose a lot, but, you know, best sailors in the world, we've got to expect accuracy, we've got to expect excellence.
We got a tight race, 4 boats within 50 meters of one another. It's France, USA, Canada, and New Zealand, everyone traveling in excess of 55 kilometers per hour.
And they keep it on the foils through there. Phil Robertson sounding very calm on the wheel there, turning the boat. Nice manoeuvre, it's high, but I think
got the
he's
right of
just
way.
saved it. Canada's got the right of way here. They must keep out the way on New Zealand. And we can see the USA, Jimmy Spittle, he's pushing over the top of Contant de la Pierre's French boat, but it's going to be very, very tight. It's going to come down to this next turn. Here we go. They set up on the French boat. Let's watch them do it. Oh, top of the screen, Canada, they've come off the foils, they jumped out the water, look at the speed fall off there. The New Zealand boat struggling in that turn as well, and the French, well, they've done a nice job there, de la Pierre. USA turn, can they keep it in the air? Just Jimmy Spittle, beautiful turn by the Americans there. Excellent job, Hans Henken on the flight control, flying the boat so well, and the Canadians are still dead in the water as the French look well set for gate number 2.
So as they approach gate number 2 here on leg 2 of 6, it is France, USA, New Zealand, your top 3. Canada was sitting in 2nd place. They have dropped back to 9th.
Mistakes count, Todd. Meters, meters, meters. Little mistakes make such a big difference. France, they choose to turn right towards the Cadiz shoreline. We're going to learn a lot in this first race, Hannah, aren't we, as to which side of the course is favoured. And I don't know how much the crew will know until they're actually in the race now. Where is the favoured side to go?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a huge part of the strategist role, is keeping an eye on which side of the course is paying as you make your way around race 1, and then implementing that for the next legs in the future.
Well, it's going to be interesting for us watching. We can see New Zealand, they turn left, they're coming towards the camera, going,
Great
Britain off the foils. Luke Parkinson, he loves flying the boat high, but he got a bit too high. He's hit the brakes at the roundabout just in front of the Australians, and Slingsby's had to park the boat to avoid him. It's a lot of drama.
Penalty USA relative. France didn't give room in the boundary. Penalty clear.
Just had to let the French get back past, take a 20-metre gain back there for Jimmy Spittle. It's right on the boundary. Watch here with Great Britain, he flies it. Oh my Lord, trying to do a turn right round that gate mark, and they just got really loose, really out of control. Well, I think they'll be okay, but let's show us how hard it is out here. Back at the front, right of way, New Zealand. Jimmy Spittle, he must turn behind. Spain, Jordi Jamar, well, they've only just fixed the boat, and they're flying right back into this race on the Spanish boat.
So we've got 4 right now within 100 meters of one another. France, New Zealand, USA, Spain, the top 4. Switzerland's moved up to 5th place, and in the back, surprisingly, Canada, Denmark, and Great Britain.
See in the bottom left there, the race fly times. We used to see it 100% in the last few events. We can see 95%, 98%. It's not easy to stay on the foils, but the French are being rewarded. 98% flight time. That's why they're in the lead at the moment. They're managing to do a good job in these tricky conditions as they set up to turn one more time on the boundary. Olivier Edlong on the grinding pedestal there, having to work so hard to keep that big wing sail moving.
And Hannah, do you think this is a situation of not if, but when you drop off the foils, how quickly you can recover for everyone?
Yeah, definitely. You know, these types of conditions is all about minimizing mistakes, but if you do make a mistake, how quickly can you recover from that, get back up to speed, and get back into the race?
So here we go, we see USA, United States coming in with the right of way on New Zealand, but we're back up with the French. They're clear out ahead here, and it should be a little bit easier for Contant. New Zealand had to dip behind. The right of way was with Jimmy Spithill. Look at them. As you say, Todd, 100 metres separates these first 4 boats. There are ladder lines showing us that they're moving up the course, left to right on the screen. They're heading into the wind. Probably one more turn for each boat. That yellow line, top right of screen, that's the ley line. If they're sailing parallel along that line, they can hope to make the next gate without turning again. And at the moment, Spain, they're right back in it. Jimmy Spithill's pushing it. He's flying high. Oh, that's going to go to the umpires. Expect to hear from Craig Mitchell on that one.
This is the umpires. A penalty USA, relative Spain. Port tack boat not keeping clear.
Oh, he was pushing his luck though, Todd. He's now going to drop behind the Spanish. That's going to be a costly one for Jimmy Spithill. This will hurt. Here we go. Gate 3. And it's going to be the French. Clear ahead of New Zealand.
So at gate number 3, the near gate, it is France that rounds first as they make their way down the course. The Kiwis have been consistent. They move into second place by way of the Americans, having to give them that penalty position. They will have to drop back, as Stevie pointed out, behind Spain, and the Americans have really lost their momentum. Look at this. They're going to go from 4th to 5th.
Should be clearing that penalty now. He's just pointing out to Craig we've got behind him there. Nice of Jimmy to help the umpires as we go along. But what a performance by this Spanish boat. At the moment, they were nowhere. They were at the back off the start, late in with that repair. Up to 3rd here. It's tight now.
Correction, the Americans have dropped back to 4th, so just that one position.
Come here now, tight for Australia. He's got to be clear ahead of Canada. Canada had the right of way, but I think he judged that well. And that's Tash Bryant trying to point out all the traffic. It's so busy. Just having your eyes out the boat and seeing what's going on, Hannah's pretty tough job. Top of screen, New Zealand, they're off the foils. Look, they're crashing down this downwind leg as they move down the course. It's proving so hard. It's not a good first lap for the British boat there, Hannah.
No, they've really suffered from that fall off the foils at that bottom gate mark. And I think they were pretty lucky to not have the Australians go into the back of them as well.
Okay, we can see there Ben Ainsley driving the boat downwind. That's going to be look at the waves, look at the throwing around. The boat's just bucking around here. As we come back to the front of the fleet, Todd, and New Zealand, they just don't seem to go away at the moment.
Contant Delapierre and France out in front. Remember, it's a year ago, this event, where Contant Delapierre came on board and took over for Billy Basson, and he's done a great job, and today looking very good. The Kiwis now have taken the lead, so it's New Zealand, France, and Spain, the USA sitting in 4th.
Look at that average speed, Todd. The Kiwis are faster constantly here. When they next turn, the New Zealand boat will have the right of way. The New Zealand boat constantly about 1.5 kilometres faster on this downwind. Delapierre's going to have to watch out. On the inside, it's New Zealand. He has the right of way, but Delapierre's going to be faster as they round up here. Down at gate number 4, it's going to be very slow on the New Zealand boat. Opportunity for the French to go around the outside and make it really hard.
Not the cleanest rounding
New Zealand must keep
look
clear, Todd. New Zealand have got to keep clear. He's going to force him to turn before he wants to. Aggressive from Delapierre. Nice move. It's a good aggressive racing there, and a big move from Delapierre to force Burling away towards the Cadiz shoreline. Now it comes down. Spain, look how high they fly as they turn up, and Jimmy Spithill threads the needle. Opportunity knocks and he takes it.
Conversation and pulse quickens for Spain as they give that position back to the U.S. They go into 3rd place. The Kiwis still out in front, but France making big gains here. It is New Zealand, France, USA, and problems for Australia as they put that nose down into the water.
Just so hard for the crews out here in these conditions. It's a drag race now. New Zealand, they show us being in the lead at the moment, but they've got to turn the bout when they get close to that boundary, and when they do, they're going to mean the right of way is with France. This move could be crucial. Watch for how they can execute it.
It's this leg and then a left-hand turn to the finish line, and race 1 will be complete, and this is going to be key right here.
Sensible move by the New Zealand there. Burling not wanting to push at this stage in the race. Again, they split, they sail off in different directions. Who can find more wind? If you got, which way are you going right now, Hannah?
I think you're just trying to keep the boat in the air. I'm not sure it matters too much which way you go, and whoever's doing the best job of that, I think will come out on top.
Maneuver from Quentin Delapierre in France.
Oh, it wasn't a good one, Todd. They flew a bit too high. Look at the speed scrub off. Good save there. Burling, I want to give a little bit. He wants to make sure he's definitely lined up for the next gate, because when he converges with France the next time, he will have the right of way.
Let's check in with Lisa down on the water.
Well, it's a game of speed versus stability out here. As you can see, the F-50s are riding quite low towards the water because they're just trying to keep their foils in the water and their boat in the air. So it's a real challenge out here for the sailors, and very impressive by the French and the Kiwis because they're just making less mistakes.
Well, Lisa, we talked about the speed that we saw the first day in France, Stevie, and it was a different kind of racing. It was high speed, but it was relatively smooth. But this is all-out cardio workout.
Yeah, the terrain out there is just so unstable, but look now, France must give way. New Zealand have the advantage, and this could be the defining moment of the race in terms of the victory. New Zealand boat take the lead. They're parallel to this yellow ley line. That means they should make this final turning mark with no more manoeuvres. Wow, it's a pretty good sense of timing. How's your timing, Pete Burling? Pretty good in this race. Leg 5 or 6, it's just the glory run to the finish for the New Zealand boat now.
So Burling and the Kiwis through the gate first. Again, it's that left-hand turn. There you see the finish line there. France right behind them in case they make a mistake. But right now, it is not looking that way. Pete Burling and New Zealand SailGP are going to go to get the win. Race number 1 here in Spain goes the way of the Kiwis as they will bring it across the line. And what a way to start out the event. France with a very impressive run. They will take 2nd place. So a year removed from Quentin Delapierre taking over as the driver for France SailGP, and they get a very well-earned 2nd here on the first day at the Spain SailGP Andalucía-Cádiz.
I think, like Lisa alluded to just a minute ago, that the quality of the sailing from the French team there, they kept it within 10 seconds. They really pushed, and the US, well, they've been pushing hard all day. No exceptions here as they come in to take 3rd place. Nice work, guys. Fair enough, Jimmy. I think that's a good call because they had some big moments. They were pressed hard by this Spanish team. It's a really good result for this young Spanish crew. It's been a tough start to the season, a lot of pressure. Surely you got a silver medal on home ground, Hannah. How is it racing in front of home fans like it must be for the Spanish?
Yeah, it's nothing like racing in front of your home crowd, so they'll be absolutely lapping it up, putting everything into this performance, and it's brilliant to see them get a great first race.
And the Swiss very happy about claiming that 5th. Seb Schneider back in the driver position, and tell you what, who's been all over the course more than the Australians? They will take 6th.
They're over at the start, won't they, Todd? Canada 7th. Tricky race again for the Canadians. I think they'll be disappointed, but perhaps no one more disappointed than the British. They were in there. They kind of need a good performance there, so I think really Ben's going to be wanting to address that. And the Danes, well, that mid-season form early in the European run seems to be slipping away at the moment.
So Denmark finishes at the back of the fleet, so all 9 across the line, and what a performance once again. It's New Zealand, France, USA, the top 3 in race number 1.
It's going to be a real battle to get up to speed at the top of the line here. Australia have found their own peace and quiet in the middle of the start line and look well positioned. Jimmy, wow! Oh, the US boat surely expect a protest there from the Canadians. That's very tight. One last turn from Peter Burling, but Delapierre and the French boat again looks well on timing. Watch for the line to turn white. And we're going race 2. It's going to be a drag race. Australia are well lined up. They should be fast in from here and could lead at Mark 1.
Race number 2 of the Spain Sail Grand Prix as they approach mark number 1. A much better start for the Australians. Canada on the outside, Denmark right behind them, and the Americans with Jimmy Spithill having another great start as they drift off to the right-hand side.
Great shot that is. Look at the boats leaping around, how low they are to the water. We're used to seeing these boats foiled nearly a metre out of the water, but there's spray all over them at the moment as the Canadians look to turn around. Billy Gooderham, the flight controller, but it's the old master, Jason Waterhouse, famed as the best flight controller in the fleet, and the Australians lead away.
And the winners of the first race, New Zealand, are in the back of the pack. Don't count on that lasting long.
There's opportunity. We saw Canada fall off the foils again in the background there. Billy Gooderham struggling to keep it under control. But look, sat down. Lowest person in the shot there, Jason Waterhouse. That's the flight controller. He's having to balance this boat, juggle the game of risk. As they all start to turn on the boundary, these manoeuvres are crucial right now. Big lead for Australia already.
The Australians finishing in 6th in the first race. Remember, it's all about getting the points and having enough points to be in the final race, the podium race, at the end of Sunday.
The voice of Ben Ainsley there, listening to Nicky Boniface saying, just hoping for 1 and in. They hope to do one more turn and make it to gate 2, and certainly right now the British boat looks quick. They're driving over the top of the Spanish, but ladder lines there showing us that 150 metres ahead after just 2 or 3 minutes of the race is Australia. If you let them get out in front, they look pretty good. But probably the more interesting battle is going to be with that British boat and the Australians. Look how hard, look how low they're flying the boat, Anna.
Yeah, I think they're all just taking it down a notch in terms of safety, and they're all flying the boats a little bit lower than in race 1 to keep it hopefully up on the foils and stop those big crashes.
Here we go, right-hand side of screen. Watch Great Britain, they have the right of way. France must keep clear, it's a tight turn. They're going to struggle to keep it foiling on the French boat from here. That was so aggressive by Ainsley. He slung the boat towards the French. The French keep clear, but they're off the foils. It's going to be a big loss for the French boat here. Ainsley, no mercy there. He's going to be well set. He moves from 4th to 3rd in 1 manoeuvre.
And they need a big performance after finishing last in race number 1. It's the Australians. They'll make it down to gate 2 first and make the turn. So Tom Slingsby off and running here in race number 2. A lot to make up for after finishing 6th in the first race.
Yeah, but I just expect the Australians to extend away from here, Todd. They've got clear wind, clear choices, and it's really going to be a battle in the pack. As we see Great Britain just sneak around the mark there. They had to drop both their big foils in the water to get round. Spain choose to turn away, and we're going to learn a bit more about the course here as we see them split away. And the pack is now going to be tight in the pack.
Looks like the USA are going to follow Spain on that other side. So it's Australia, Spain, Great Britain, the USA in 4th. And tight quarters there. Look at this. France dips inside.
Yeah, France have the right of way there. Jimmy Spithill choosing not to do an extra manoeuvre and sail extra distance as he squeezes round. New Zealand in the background there as well. They're back in the race, but they will be slow from here. They're going to look to turn instantly after gate 2. Wow, it's really tight. Hard work, especially for a new skipper, Seb Schneider. Back on. Nathan Outridge isn't here this weekend, so how much has Seb managed to absorb, sponge in from having Nathan on the boat in the past 2 events? Spain with the right of way. Great Britain must keep clear. This race looks really, really tight here. The Spanish are doing so well here. Hometown heroes, and they seem to be thriving in the pressure.
So Spain moving up a position. It's Australia, Great Britain, Spain, France, USA. That's your top 5. And we check in down on the water with Lisa.
Well, what we saw off that start is if you have a big crash and you fall off the foils, the reason that you go from first to last is it basically takes you over a minute to build your speed again, get up and going. So those mistakes, they're not little, they're big, and they cost you so much distance. So Australia, they're riding a lot lower than I saw them ride last time, and it's really paying off for them.
To Lisa's point, Hannah, you make 1 mistake, you might be able to recover in a race if it happens early. You make 2 mistakes, you probably have no shot of placing in the top 3.
Yeah, almost certainly. And like Lisa was saying, once you're up, you're clear ahead. You've got more time to make decisions. You've got more time to play a little bit safe, and we're seeing that from the Australians. They're just sailing away with this.
So Tom Slingsby, the Australians, 2-time reigning and defending champions. They won the first 2 events of this season in Bermuda and Chicago, and then they had issues in Copenhagen where they did not make the podium race, finishing in 4th, and they finished 5th in Saint-Tropez. So they'd like to get back to their winning ways, and they are the first ones to pass through gate number 3.
Bit of a masterclass at the moment, Todd. All I've heard Tom Slingsby say up this leg is big gain, big gain, big gain.
Beautiful view of the course here at the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Near. What a day for sailing, and the fleet now has spread out just a little bit. Hannah, we saw them earlier, especially in race number 1, very tight quarters, and it looks like everyone's giving themselves a little more elbow room. Yeah, I think they definitely are. I think we've got a big moment coming up potentially with Great Britain on the right of your screen and Spain on the left of your screen. This top gate mark, it'll be interesting to see who's come out ahead. They've been neck and neck this whole leg.
Should be the Spanish from here, I think. They have the right of way as they come in here. Will they choose to go straight? No, Ainsley spins the boat in front of them. Aggressive from Ben Ainsley now. He has the right of way to turn left. Spain will have to follow. But I'm so impressed with Diego Botan, the flight controller on the Spanish boat. He's just got back from a really strong result at the 49er Worlds. He's a 49er European champion, but he's flight controller here. Seems to be doing a pretty good job of keeping that Spanish boat fast. Here comes France, finished in 2nd in the first race. They are currently sitting in 4th place after a great start. The Americans right behind them in 5th. Switzerland coming into view. They are in 7th currently, and they finished in the top 5 in that first race. Denmark, a much better performance. The big question for me is what is going on with Canada? They've had their problems, and New Zealand sitting in 8th. Well, the New Zealand boat just didn't have a good start, and there you go. You can see them dipping behind the Swiss boat there. But yeah, Canada, well, what happened? They were 4th in the first downwind leg there. They did a bad manoeuvre, fell off the foils, and just crashed out, and that was it. They just lost. This, as you've said, you lose distance, you lose so much distance so quickly. And Stevie, we talked about this, especially when we get to Sunday. You start crunching the numbers. You can have one bad race, a 7, 8, or a 9. You can't have 2. You can't have 2, no. And you see there the Australians stretching away, 532 metres. I mean, it's absolute display. And, you know, they had a 6th. It's not a great start. Slingsby knows he needs to get themselves back in the game. And this crew, well, they're used to delivering under pressure, and they're really doing that now. But no, you can't afford two bad races here. So for New Zealand, they've got to look to make changes. Ben Ainsley, well, he's had a bad one, but look, what a way to bounce back. So there's your leading boat on the left side of the screen. It is Australia out in front. They've already gone around the gate. Great Britain, Ben Ainsley, they are in 2nd place with Spain. For my money, Stevie, they've been the biggest surprise. I mean, you talk about the pressure that's on them racing on home waters. Then they have the malfunction right before the start of the race, and they still deliver a top 5. They finish in 4th in race number 1, and here they are in 3. Well, and you saw the smile on Geordie's face. I mean, he's loving being out here in Cadiz, and they're really putting on a show. And no, I've got to say they're the most impressive team in terms of stepping up the performance right now, but we're only halfway through the first day. Leg 5 or 6 here. They're getting towards the business end of this race, and they're going to be, if they can hold on to 3rd, they're going to be very, very well set. So Great Britain and Ben Ainsley make the turn. They are around. They are on to leg number 5. Spain right behind them. Remember, it's up to the top of the course and then left-hand turn into the finish line. Australia looks to have this one wrapped up. Great Britain 2nd, Spain in 3rd. And then the battle for those points in the middle. France currently sits in 4th. The Americans have moved up to 5th. French as well, very consistent on board there. And for the USA, obviously they didn't have the best start. They were pushed out to the outside. But for Jimmy, you got to look at the long game. Tight moment here. The Swiss are sneaking across in front. I expect we're going to get a protest from the Danish boat there. That was aggressive by Seb Schneider on the Swiss boat. I expect the Danish to ask Craig Mitchell a question there of who had the right of way.
This is the umpires. Penalty Switzerland, relative Denmark. Port tack boat not keeping clear.
Got to say, I'm agreeing with Craig Mitchell a lot more than usual today. So that was a tight cross by the Swiss. It is his birthday, but he was pushing his luck there, Seb, driving that Swiss boat. He's now got some space, but he has to drop back behind the Danish. This penalty this late in the race could be really costly. So Australia, Great Britain and Spain out in front. Australia has got to be close to that top gate as they make the turn, and they will have the win and plenty of time to debrief before the 3rd and final race of the day here at the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Near. Calm voices, not a lot of chatter going on board Australia SailGP. No, and you just can see how much the boats are changing height relative to the water there. Luke Parkinson, flight controller on the British boat. Well, he's renowned for pushing what's possible. And at the moment, that British boat does look like it's flying high, but the boat speed's not really high. Look at the top of the mast. They're a little bit slower than that Spanish boat. So perhaps pushing is not the answer today. It's about the consistency of the flight. It's about keeping that boat at a steady level, keeping the speed up as we see the Spanish turn one more time, and they try and find some space away from Ben Ainsley. So Ainsley taking it all the way to the boundary, and then he will turn in. Meanwhile, it is Australia who have made the turn as they make their way to the finish. Great Britain there, parallel to this yellow line. They're lined up nicely for this final gate. Good result, good bounce back for Ainsley. Up to 6th is New Zealand in the middle of our screen there. Places at this stage of the race are crucial, and it's really, really tight in the pack here. Much better for the British.
So, Stevie, Australia has crossed the finish line already as the clock continues to run, and this is a massive victory for the Australians. Now the battle on for 2nd and 3rd. Great Britain and Spain currently holding down those positions. France sits in 4th, the USA in 5th.
Well, yeah, it was an absolutely massive win, Todd. I mean, they've not even been in the shot for the last minute or so. They're so far down the road. Really impressive performance, and really impressive performance by the British to get back to 2nd, but still really delivering at the moment. The Spanish and the French, a couple of younger teams. Again, both of these only really starting out as drivers at this event, and then Geordie even later. 3rd and 4th in this race. And the French, wow, here they come in tight. Can the French look to blast past the Spanish right at the finish?
The battle for 3rd is on between Spain and France. France with much more speed. Look at the masthead numbers, 52 plus, 49 for Spain as they start to build, and this will be a full drag race to the line.
Really did a good job of saving that one, Todd, the Spanish. A lot of pressure from Contan and this French crew, but the Spanish have managed to hold them off, and this is a big result for the young Spanish boat.
So Spain brings it to the seawall, much to the delight of all the fans who have turned out. They will claim 3rd to go with a 4th in race number 1. France comes across, so they get a 2nd in race 1 and a 4th in race 2. And look at this.
Yeah, they're giving the fans what they want there. Real matadors out there on the water, and they're certainly geeing up the crowd, that is for sure. As Jimmy Spithill just holds off Burling. It was nearly a late charge from the Kiwis, but they get a 6th in behind the USA boat in 5th place there. So I think Burling, he managed to gain a few points at the end, but it's going to be interesting on these results. And I just think it's a high-risk place to start. It's not worked for Great Britain, so I'm surprised we've not seen a change of strategy from them, really. New Zealand and Australia, they're jostling in the middle of the pack. I think the middle's a good place to be. We got some on board from New Zealand there, but Burling trying to lead the fleet back on the New Zealand boat. He's going to be pressed late by Australia. 10 seconds to go. The Battle of the Titans is in the middle, and it looks like the Australian boat's timed it well. As Burling turns down, he's going to need to keep clear. Watch for the line to turn white. Oh, what a start by the three of you. Could chuck a blanket over the first 5 boats there, and it now is a pure test of strength as they head towards Mark 1, and it's going to be France or Australia that lead at Mark 1 from here.
This is like NASCAR on water, 5 wide as they make their way to Mark 1 here in Spain.
It's all about how high you risk flying the boat here, Todd. Maybe the British can cling on the inside. I think it's going to be hard. Is Delapierre able to get round him? No, somehow Ainsley hangs on and is going to lead on the British boat at Mark 1. Watch the acceleration here. Can they keep it in the water? Can they keep it flying at a good height? There you go, look at that. The British boat, they're the ones in control. They were the first to turn the boat left, turn down away from the wind, and they've turned a 20-metre lead into a 50-metre lead in the blink of an eye, but I'm pretty confident this next turn will be pretty decisive, and it's Australia that drop the board first and turn away.
And they needed this one in a big-time way. Great Britain, remember, finished 8th in the first race, and they bounced back 2nd in race number 2.
They did. Oh, that's Ben Ainsley there, you said. Ben just saying he's struggling for comms on the lock.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's really hard as the driver if you can't hear what's going on in terms of when you have to turn the boat, so that can cause big problems.
Ah, nice, okay. Yeah, so it's a good jibe though, Todd. They've turned the boat there, they execute the manoeuvre very well, and they've made another gain, but it's Slingsby on board Australia, pressuring the French. Delapierre again up there.
Impressive performance. Remember, it's been 1 year since Quentin Delapierre took over for Billy Besson and France SailGP, and he's had mixed results, but as of late, he's been very consistent. And look at this. This is tight quarters right here.
Will be when the Americans turn. They're going to get the right of way, but I think they're comfortably behind the leading group of 3. It's more about Australia and France. It's going to be very soon that Slingsby can tell. He's already around the front of the French boat. The pure boat speed of the Australians here, just faster. Ainsley matches the turn now. They should be lined up for gate 2, and we've seen that trying to minimise your manoeuvres is a pretty key strategy out there today.
Hannah, let's talk about being on that boat at the third race. Are you just absolutely exhausted, and especially in conditions like this?
You're exhausted for sure, but I mean, ultimately, you know, these guys and girls are at the top of their physical condition, so they're used to this type of racing. They're used to pushing it, and they'll definitely have what it takes to get through this race.
Tricky moment here. Ainsley braces himself. Nicky Boniface there clarifying that the boat's behind. There's no opportunity to look behind today, but Nicky's able to do that for Ben. And they just know they're following. If you're in the lead and the boat's behind you, follow. That's just one of the most relaxing feelings in the world. We see it's tight in the pack, though. There's not going to be a lot of relaxation on those boats.
And the USA and Jimmy Spithill opt to split the course as Canada will follow the rest of them. So Spithill possibly seeing something on the other side there, maybe getting some information from Erica Reinecke, his strategist on the back.
I think they've seen space, Todd. I think if you're in the pack, if you can have no one in front of you round a mark and you can then sail at top speed, you want that. For New Zealand back in the pack, they've got no choice. They're going to be following someone, but the cleanest option out with the least manoeuvres is going to keep your speed highest. And of course, the faster you can go, the more chance you've got to get back in the race.
Great Britain, Australia, USA, France, your top four right now, and they've really been some of the most consistent sailors on the day. And this is a huge moment for Hannah's teammates, Great Britain. If they can get the win here, this would be huge for their cause getting into that podium race tomorrow.
Looks like the wind's turned around to the side of the course, to the right-hand side, where Ben Ainsley is at the moment, where the US were. So it was an advantage for the United States on that manoeuvre. They've moved up there to third, crossing ahead of the French. That's just because the wind's changed direction. It means the US have been able to sail a shorter distance, and they've made a bit of a gain. But that same change in wind direction could help the French in a minute, as when they come back together with the US, they'll have the right of way.
Yeah, and as the British boat here, you're just so happy. You know, you've got your closest rivals. You can see them on the same tack as you, sailing the same way, and you know you've got everything under control at this point.
There you go. If you're all sailing in the same direction, of course, you're likely to end up in the similar patch of wind. You're likely to end up with a similar direction of wind. So for Ainsley right now, he'll love that image. And what he's doing here, he's just trying to be accurate with these manoeuvres, and they're looking for a foiling tack, we heard him say.
Hannah, on a whole, how do you think GBR has done this year? They seem a little bit inconsistent, and obviously what happened in Copenhagen is just tough. Just no points with that damage.
Yeah, I mean, I think the approach of the British team this year has definitely been to try and be consistent and be consistently near that top three at the end of each regatta and each event, to hopefully make that top three at the end of the season, which is ultimately all it's about, is getting into that top three for that final race.
Stevie, you talked about the Titans as they make their way up here to this next gate, gate number 3, the near gate. You've got Great Britain first. You've got Australia sitting in second. And then you've got the Americans in third, with France just sneaking in there.
Oh, it's so tight with the French boat there, just dipping behind here. What a great view of the waves that we can see here. And of course, the waves move in a circular motion, so the flight controllers are having to judge where they are in that flow of water. If the wave and the circle is pushing you up, you're going to fly too high. If the circle's taking you down, you're going to fly too low. We've got a tight moment here with the US and the French, right of way with the US, and they sneak around in front of the French. And now it's up for Hans Henken to try and work out where he is in the flow of the wave to try and keep that US boat sailing fast.
So France and the USA battling for that third position and the points that go with it. Canada coming into view now in 5th place. They'll head down the course, then back up, and then the left to the finish. And look at the distance. Look at the massive crowds on the seawall. What a day to watch the world's best sailors.
Pretty tricky here, isn't it? And once again, back in the pack, the New Zealand boat. Burling's going to need to get a couple of points back from here, otherwise they're going to be under huge pressure tomorrow. Well, we know this rivalry between Slingsby and New Zealand, the Australians and the Kiwis. It's turned into a big one, and Slingsby's going to like what he sees.
And this is not good news for the Spanish crew. They are currently sitting in 8th place, so everyone says they have one bad race. Spain, this would probably be theirs because they've got a 4 and a 3, and right now they're sitting in 8th.
It's nice though, they're sailing the boat really nicely on board the Spanish boat today, but as we look back at the front of the fleet, we can see Great Britain. Again, he's going in the same direction as the Australians. He'll love that. One last turn before they get to the gate, and they'll put the boats back upwind, and it should be relatively easy for Ainsley from here. It's interesting there. He's having to...
So Nicky Boniface giving some strategy there. Good pressure both ways. Gives him options.
Yeah, it means you can take either way. It means the wind's fairly even. And as everyone's alluded to, the big challenge out here today is just how hard can you push the boats.
Yeah, it's great to hear Nicky Boniface getting involved. It's easy to underestimate how hard it is for these guys and girls sailing these boats. You know, their minds are so focused on their job, so that strategist role is really crucial in feeding that information in to the drivers so they can make the best decisions.
Leg 5 of 6. It is Great Britain and Australia way out in front. France now is securely holding on to third, and we'll see what Jimmy Spithill and the USA decide to do. Do they split the course again? It looks that way.
I think they're going to head back in, and the French are doing an absolutely class job today. In third place again. They've really been at the front of the fleet, doing a really nice job. You can see they're 36 seconds back. In fourth place is the US. Probably too much distance to hope to get back to first, but Jimmy's going to have his eyes razor focused on that French boat, as a podium for them would be crucial.
Phil Robertson and the Canadians get around. They're currently in 5th, and New Zealand, after winning the first race and finishing 6th in race number 2, they're in the same position here in race number 3, and that's giving away a lot of points, even for someone as talented as Pete Burling, Blair Tuke, and the rest of that team.
Todd, I just think the league, the quality of the teams now, you just can't make mistakes. As you allude to it, you get punished whoever you are, and right now, well, we saw in that first race, the British boat, Ben Ainsley, they made a massive mistake, and they were punished really hard. More than capable of winning a race by a long way, and it looks pretty calm and calculated on board right now.
Oh, look at that. Spins it around. Hannah, what's that like being on that back end when they spin the boat that much? What are the G-forces like?
Yeah, the G-forces are pretty intense, and definitely if you're in the wrong position, you can easily get knocked over or flung and lose your feet from under you.
So here we go. It'll be all key as they come up to the next gate. This is the second to last gate. Second to last leg, excuse me, leg 5 of 6. There you see the ride height, and Great Britain holding on, being clean, and they've got the lead with Australia in second.
It's interesting how much these ride heights on the left are changing, and that's just to do with the wave state. They just can't fly the boat over a metre as we're used to seeing consistently, because that water's changing, the waves are circulating around, changing how much the boat lifts up and down out the water, so they're having to have some safety margin.
And down on the water, Lisa, is there anything to give you hope that the Australians have any chance of tracking down Great Britain?
No, I think Great Britain have sailed a textbook race from start to finish. But for me, down on the water, the amazing thing is to see how much better the teams are sailing in race 3 today than they were in race 1. It's a completely different class out here. So really impressive to see how fast they're learning. And I think the British team have this wrapped up, but I'm sure the Australians will be pushing super hard on this final leg.
Yeah, well, we can just see this graphic come in at the bottom left of our screen, which just goes to show that the GBR and Australian team both sailing really consistent races, almost with 100% fly time for both the boats.
How much better they've got through the day, Todd. I mean, those numbers were about 85% at the beginning of the day, and they're learning on the job. We saw the British, they've clearly got a comms issue. Nicky Boniface had to put her arm up to let Luke Parkinson know Ben was flying the boat. The comms aren't working between Ben and Parko, but...
Great Britain with the bounce-back race, and they get the win. Ben Ainsley guides his team to a victory in race number 3 here in Spain. Tom Slingsby with a nice performance, so they will go first in race number 2 and second in race number 3, and that's strong because they had a tough one in race number 1 where they finished in 6th place.
There you go, no surprise there. If Ben Ainsley's in front of you, he's not going to give you room to wiggle, but class performance today. It's got to be the French. Another top 3, another podium finish in this race, and Quentin de la Pierre, he's really, what a job he's doing.
No question, they were leading coming into this race in the overall, and this is going to help their cause. The USA squad with Jimmy Spithill, they'll come in and they will be in 4th, get a little loose. Maybe he was putting on a show for the huge crowds up on the seawall, but the USA squad, for my money, Stevie, has been very consistent. Nothing outside of the top 5.
No, it's going to be so tight in the pack, the battle for third, and that could be vital. New Zealand there, Peter Burling, he's managed to jump the Canadian boat on this final leg. He's turned a 6th into a 5th. How important will that result be when we get to the money counting time tomorrow? 6th for Canada. I think it's going to be hard to make the final for them from here.
A 1, 6, and a 5, to your point, for New Zealand. So that's much better than a 1, 6, and a 6 for Pete Burling and the Kiwis. Canada finishing in 6th place. Their day, a little bit forgettable. They had a 7th on race number 1. And, of course, a really bad one, 8th. And they back it up with another 6. So here comes the hometown favorites, Spain, bringing it across the line in 7th.
Still think that's a good day for the Spanish. They really reset well. 2 fantastic results, 1 tricky result, but they're going to be in the mix. Good debrief. I think Geordie and the crew have got to be happy with that, you know, that bit of local knowledge. And, well, Seherstedt, he's got some serious thinking to do, because I think they could be out of the hunt for the final already as well.
Yeah, that gives them a 9th, a 7th, and an 8th. Not the performance they were looking for. Remember, they came off a great showing in Copenhagen where they got into the podium race, and that was after a 3rd in Plymouth. And Switzerland really struggling today. Remember, it is back in the hands of Seb Schneider. Nathan Outridge is off testing, so Seb Schneider with some work to do on Championship Sunday.
Still very much learning, and they'll be hoping to sponge that knowledge that they would have got from Nathan Outridge, but, you know, it's a tricky day. We saw the best teams struggling. And for the new teams, it's been a real challenge.
Yeah, for Switzerland, they started off with a 5th place, and then they back it up with 2 9ths, which is really going to make it difficult for them to make it into that podium race, the top 3 racing tomorrow.
Well, yeah, and here we go. We see the crews lining up. They're all so close to the line. Off to the left-hand side of our screen, the New Zealand crew caught my eye, but it's the United States and Australia with some space at the moment. Great Britain in their favoured position towards the pole position. Blue mark there at the downwind end of the line towards the top of our screen. It's all about timing now. Already foiling from the left-hand side of the screen. It's New Zealand, but the USA as well. Have they timed it right? They're closer to the line. Jimmy Spittle's USA boat. Will he turn down and head to the line? It's going to be USA and Great Britain looking to break the line on time. Watch for it to turn white. And it's a clear start there as they blast away towards Mark 1. It's going to be a fast angle for the USA, but can Ainsley's British boat hang on the inside?
It is all on here in race number 4, Championship Sunday. 6 teams separated by 5 points as they make their way to mark number 1. Everyone looking to get into that podium race.
Oh, Todd, and there's such a big first race. The points in this race are so tight going into it that for all of the top 6 crews, it's massive how well they perform here. And Canada, well, can they put their season back on track with some good racing today here? Watch this first turn down. How good's your control on the flight control? First place for Great Britain at Mark 1. Ainsley's crew, they're coming off the back of a win yesterday, Todd. Confidence high. Luke Parkinson said in the interviews he was just loving these tricky conditions.
And Hannah, they certainly learned because Great Britain had problems.
Background there, Todd. Have a look at the Americans. What a costly mistake that could be. One mistake could define your day, and they're going to be stuck in the water there. They've got too high as they tried to turn the boat, and they've misjudged that massively. They're going to be out the back. It's going to take a long time to recover.
We talked about this yesterday, Hannah. If you have 1 mistake, you could probably recover in a 6-leg race. But if you have 2 mistakes in these conditions, not so much.
Here we go. Let's have a look. Look how high they get. You see the rudder at the back of the boat there pops out the water. They completely lose control. They've just totally misjudged the amount of lift under the boat, and it got lifted too high.
Yeah, I mean, those costly manoeuvres, they really can end a race, so it'll be really interesting to see if the USA team can get themselves back into this race and in contention.
So the United States goes from 4th to 9th place because of that maneuver. Still on leg number 2 of 6. Remember, this is race 4, then it'll be race 5, and then the top 3 teams will battle it out.
Well, we're on board the Spanish. They look like they're sailing fast. They're up to 2nd. It's tight. When they come back together with the British and the Canadians, it's going to be the Spanish with the right of way. Not a good jibe though, 32. The green at the top of the mast suggests they're just fast enough to foil. But the British, well, they're a good lead at the moment. Our ladder lines, these lines on the screen showing that there's some 50-metre lead for the British as they look to head back to the Cadiz shoreline where they think they're going to find more wind.
Gate number 2 and Great Britain picking off where they left off yesterday. Remember, they won race number 3, finished 2nd in race number 2. So Ben Ainsley and his crew looking very smooth, and they have come to grips with this course.
Yeah, and it's great to see this young Spanish team coming around in 2nd. You know, they're in 6th overall at the moment. They need to have a good race here to be in with a chance of making that podium race.
And the big movers on that first downwind leg's the New Zealand boat, Todd. They were out the back, but they've dropped under 30 kilometres an hour, and they're turning. They're up to 4th, but can they hang on? Slingsby as well.
All right, is that a situation of swell or is that a situation of flight control error?
No, no, no. They were trying to make a tactical move there on board the Australian boat to turn away from the fleet, but they've got slow. Look, less than 30 kilometres an hour. New Zealand just up to 30. Green at the top of the mast on Australia as well. Both boats should be able to foil, and these are the title challengers there, and they're really struggling in the pack. Canada are fast at the moment, but Great Britain, they seem to have got the boat going well, and it's going to be a test of strength here. How high dare you fly the boat?
And USA just coming into view. Remember, it was that first maneuver that put them both holes into the water. They have dropped all the way back to 9th place.
It's a bit of a drag race across here, and we can see from the graphic in the bottom left that if it stays like this, Spain do claw their way into that top 3, but obviously we've still got another fleet race to go.
Oh, how would the home fans love that, Hannah. As the boats line up, Great Britain, they turn away. The wind has rotated to the favour. The Canadian boat has turned to the right. When Canada turn, they'll have the right of way. Spain have got to keep clear of them. Could be a lead change here. Canada showing that they've sailed the tactics very nicely. And do they stay on the foils? No, under 30 kilometres an hour at the top of the mast. It's so hard to stay on the foils. If you fall off the foils and get slow, you can lose a lot quickly. But Canada, they're going so well here. And the British boat, they've gone from first to third. And hear the sigh of Ben Ainsley there. Pure frustration.
Yeah, it looks really, really tricky out there for these guys and girls sailing these boats. Making those manoeuvres and not falling off the foils seems really tough.
First race of the day, it is Canada out in front, Spain in second, Denmark, Great Britain has fallen back to 4th. Then it's the Kiwis, the Aussies, the Swiss, the French, and the USA in dead last.
Very short. We'll see where we get to.
There we go.
We sort of keep it simple. Knee right, must go right turn bottom.
Keep it simple seems like a pretty good strategy from Phil Robertson there, but easier said than done. We can see here, look, out on their own, Denmark, they're going really, really fast at the moment. These yellow lines here, they suggest that's where you could make it to the next gate, but I think the Danish boat have had to turn too soon. We're hearing the voice there on the Danish boat of Sehested. And on the ladder lines, he shows us second place. He's done a beautiful job of sailing fast up here, but they forced it. They've fallen off the foils. Bit of a mistake.
We've got problems here. Way off the pace upwind.
Oh, way off the pace. Just feeling slow on the British boat, and it shows. Look how fast this Canadian boat's. Look, they're foiling, and they're away from the fleet. And Ainsley now, not only have the Danish passed him, the Spanish, the Canadians, and he's got Burling in his wing mirrors now. Big pressure. The yellow line here. The lay line makes it to get to gate 3. What is it on the British boat, Hannah, that's making this struggle?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's making them struggle, but they're clearly having issues upwind. It's clearly frustrating for the team. So it'd be really interesting to see whether they can kind of pull it back, recompose themselves, and still get a countable result.
The F-50s are rounding gate 3, presented by Near. And the first to go through, it's the Canadians, followed by Spain, Denmark, and Great Britain.
What a leg there by the Canadians, Todd. That was really superb sailing. And the young Spanish. There's a lot of pressure on this Spanish boat. Home fans, but there is second at the moment. That's going to be so good for their chances of making the final. As we see Denmark, they're finding their form as well. A terrible day yesterday by Sehested's own admission, but right back in it.
Oh, Canada splashes down.
How much is that going to cost them? Big error. Sounds pretty calm.
Yeah.
Sound pretty calm. They've got to get back up over 30. It's Swiss and Australia. Australia have got to be careful of the Swiss here. Oh, I don't know if the Swiss were really allowed in there. They're pushing it. They're pushing their luck. But first up on the foils,
this
it's
is the
Australia.
Umpires, penalty Switzerland, relative Australia, not entitled to mark room.
Yeah, there you go. They were just diving in there. Aggressive move by Seb, but mistake in the end.
Shep Snyder back as the driver for Switzerland SailGP as Nathan Outridge is off testing.
Back at the front, Todd. Well, that mistake by the Canadians not too costly yet. They're still leading. The Danish, well, they've got the right of way over the Spanish boat. But look, here go the Canadians.
So, Stevie, what was the difference between the air the Canadians made and the air the Americans made?
I think they just didn't fall off the foils quite as dramatically here. We can see the Canadians doing a great job of sailing the boat fast all the time. So even when they fell off the foils, their average speed, they've kept high. They could get back on the foils quicker.
There's the current situation. This is leg 4 of 6. First race of the day, one more fleet race to go, and then only the top 3 will take place and battle it out in the podium race.
Tight cross here between New Zealand and Great Britain. Great Britain has the right of way. Can the New Zealand boat get across ahead? It's going to be tight. I wouldn't be surprised if Ainsley asked the question of the umpires there, but I think it was okay. This New Zealand boat, look how the Spanish boat's struggling to progress down the ladder lines at all. They're sailing nearly across the course, fall off the foils, and you really, really get slow.
Is that a case of Great Britain sending dirty air towards the Spanish boat?
It is now, but earlier on I think they just made a mistake. Look at the race to the final here, Todd. It's so tight. New Zealand on the top of the leaderboard. Canada, look how far away they are now. Nearly 300-metre lead for Phil Robertson's team. We're listening to Phil at the moment. Hear how much he's having to talk about the waves to get that information to Billy Gooderham, the flight controller, as to what's coming next.
Well, Canada finishing this high hand is not that big of an impact on the rest of the fleet because they were so low on the overall after the start of today in 7th place, only on 12 points. So the fleet can give some points away to Canada, but that's going to hurt teams like USA and New Zealand.
Have a look at this, Hannah. Look, fall off the foils as New Zealand done to the right of our screen, and they're almost having to sail the wrong way to try and get back up on the foils. One mistake is so costly. And while it's Australia, Slingsby, the old master, he's come from nowhere through to 3rd. Here we go. Well, Australia, they need a good result. They're an overnight leader, but they need a good result to stay in the final. We've not seen the French doing too well, but for the Spanish, for the New Zealand team and the Americans, it's crucial they get a good result. Ainsley up to 2nd. Australia up to 2nd. There's definitely more wind near that Cadiz shoreline. That seems to be a good place to head for.
And the battle for the top 3 continues to change rapidly. Just moments ago, it was Australia, New Zealand, and Great Britain that looked to have it locked up. And right now, it's Great Britain, Australia, and the USA because the Americans have now slid themselves into 5th place.
It's changing so quickly, Todd. The New Zealand boat fell off the foils, and that could be terminal for their race. I think they're back to 8th on the leaderboard at the moment.
So those are the boats that would make it into the final, Great Britain and Australia and the USA if the race stopped right now. But remember, we still have one more fleet race, so things will change again. It looked like the USA squad, Stevie, was moving up quickly, and now they've found a dead pocket of air.
Yeah, if you can just stay on the foils, you can stay over that magic 30 kilometres an hour when our mast turns green and suggests you're going to get to go on the speed. It just means you're going to be able to get back on the foils. But now we've got Australia off the foils. Great Britain have the right of way. It's so tight here. And Australia, they have to turn away here from the British boat. But green up on the mast. They're up and flying again.
Well, these conditions are tricky. Everyone talked about the swell yesterday going up against that seawall and rebounding back into the fleet. We'll check in down on the water with Lisa Darman and get her take on what's going on with these tricky windy conditions.
It's super tricky out here, Todd, and I think the pressure has actually dropped across the racecourse. It's very gusty, so that's why we're seeing some teams foiling and some teams not foiling. And I think it's really the timing of when the teams turn on a good part of the wave in good pressure. So it's a really, really tricky day for the strategist as well as the flight controller.
And Hannah, that's got to be frustrating on the crew because you've picked a good course, you think you see pressure out there, and then all of a sudden it just disappears.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. You know, it's really tricky to see the pressure when the sea's so unsettled as it is here in Cadiz today. So very frustrating, but you know, you just have to keep your head up, keep finding the next bit of pressure and keep making the next right decision.
What strikes me, Todd, is this Australian boat. They were in the pack, they were struggling, and they've moved through to 2nd. Now the British, we saw in that first upwind leg, they were struggling for speed. They seem a little bit better this time. They're managing to keep themselves in the game, but Slingsby and his Australian boat, well, maybe 150 metres behind the Canadians at the moment, but they've sailed through the fleet. That just seems so hard.
And look at the change on the standings. New Zealand now in dead last. They've moved up to 8th. USA in 7th. Spain has dropped back to 6th. They weren't in the running for a while. Spain in 5th, but it is all Canada right now. 200-meter lead, and this is leg 5 of 6. It's up to the next gate and a left-hand turn to the finish line, and the Canadians looking to take the win here in race number 4.
Georgia LaFrance saying, get ourselves a safe ley line. Let's make sure we get far enough out that we only have to do one more manoeuvre. We should see, yeah, the yellow line coming into that. Once the Canadian boat's sailing close to and parallel to that, they should be well lined up to make the next gate. without doing any more manoeuvres, and we've seen how costly manoeuvres are.
No question about it. So the Canadians looking to lock this one up in race number 4. The real battle now is for second place. As you look at Australia and Great Britain, they'll battle out. That's worth a lot of points, because as the rest of the fleet is at the bottom of the course, Stevie, they have sailed into absolutely zero pressure.
Well, that's right. They're down at gate 4 at the downwind end of the course, and look, there's just so little wind, Todd. The Americans off the foils, the New Zealand boat off the foils, the Spanish, all of those boats are fighting for the final. If they can't get a top result, and the British, the Canadians and the Australians just get themselves really well set for the final.
Into gate number 5, it'll be Canada first. Keep your eye on the battle for second place, although Australia looks to put in some distance on Great Britain. But coming through the gate 5, and now it's a straight shot to the finish line. It's Canada, SailGP, as they are back in the winner's circle. Phil Robertson and the rest of his crew needed this one desperately as they came into today. They were in 7th place, sitting only on 12 points, and this win will be sweet for the Canadians as they cross the line and win race number 4.
Great performance, Todd. That was a really great performance by that Canadian boat. One mistake, they did fall off the foils, but the calmness of the recovery was superb. We're talking about calmness of recovery. Well, the Australians did a fantastic job, and the New Zealand boat, not moments ago, they were leading the event overall, and right now they could have lost their chance of the final with this bad result. For Australia, though, they look pretty good for a spot in the final.
So Australia will claim second, big points for them, and the battle really is going to come down to, Stevie, who finishes like in 4, 5, and 6, because those points are valuable and it's so close. Remember, coming into the start of the day, there were 6 boats, all within 5 points.
Yeah, the French have done a nice job to get themselves in the hunt for the final. GBR, that's a good position for them in the race to the final, but for the Spanish, oh, I think the 6th place might still give them a mathematical chance, but for the Spanish, the US, they're going to struggle to catch this British boat now, I think, in this race to get to that final. Brilliant result for Ainsley, brilliant result for Slingsby with a 2nd and a 3rd. And the Danes as well, look, they were last yesterday. They've really been learning well. French, this could be an absolutely crucial 5th place for Pontin de la Pierre.
And keep your eye on the clock. The race will be ended at 16 minutes, and then they will go back to where you were on the last mark. So that will be key as they do the count back. So they've done themselves a solid, has Canada, Australia, and Great Britain getting through the course. But Stevie, for everyone else, it is a scramble. It will terminate in less than 40 seconds.
It will, and we'll go back to the positions that we had back down there at gate 4. And well, it's going to be interesting to find out Pontin having to turn the boat one more time on the French boat. Razor focus. They still want to hope to make it, but 25 seconds, I think it's probably a bit too hopeful. Denmark, they could just sneak themselves to the finish line. 4th place will be a great result, and I think they were 4th at the last gate anyway.
Denmark coming into this 4th race in last place only on 9 points, so this will be a nice morale boost for them. And if they can get to the line in under 10 seconds, I think they're going to be short, Stevie.
I think they are going to be short. So we're going to take the results from back at gate 4 for any boats after this point now where we've got to the end. So the first 3 places there as we see, and we're going to find out where the positions were at gate 4. I think for the Danish fans, though, they were still in 4th place, so they should still take that 4th place from this race.
So light winds on legs 4 and 5. And race management has terminated the race. So the only teams to make it through to the finish line would be Canada, Australia, Great Britain, and Denmark. Hannah Mills has got her abacus out there trying to crunch the numbers to figure out who is going to be in the top 3. But Stevie, this is going to be a huge moment to find out where you were and what exactly you got able to get done out on the course before that 16-minute mark.
You've got to get a good start. 43 seconds to go, and you've got to hit this start line on the foils because trying to accelerate in this light wind is really hard. Now let's have a look here. We can see to the left of our screen, New Zealand, they're manoeuvring really aggressively, trying to wiggle away time to keep on the foils. The United States are well positioned in front of the fleet, and Great Britain to the bottom of the line. Can they keep going? Australia looks slow in the water, and I think will struggle to be fast from there. It's about timing at this stage, and the United States look like they're early with 15 to go. They all look really early with this time to go here.
New Zealand.
Got to watch for that line to turn white to see how the timing is. So I don't think he's room in here. Could be a protest on New Zealand. He sneaks around. He's over early. Oh, they're all so early.
3 boats early. OCS, USA, Spain, New Zealand.
Oh, Spain, New Zealand and the USA, all the boats that needed a good result. They knew they had to push. They pushed too hard, but they're going to have to drop to the back of the pack now to clear themselves of this penalty. GBR are stuck in not much wind, but Canada again, they're doing a great job. Canada and France are going to be in good positions here, but look, the Australians in last place.
So the team that's leading on points, Australia in the back of the fleet. The USA back on terms, and it is Canada for the second race in a row out in front.
Oh, I tell you what, Todd, it's going to be an absolute disaster for the US and the Spanish and the Kiwis at the back of the pack. But New Zealand up to 6th already. They're going to need to move through to a top 3 position, I think, to have any hope of a final.
For the USA, they need to beat France, they need to beat New Zealand, they need to beat Spain if they want any chance of getting into the final.
Here's the points, Todd. At the moment we see the French in good place. Canada are just a point away. If Great Britain lose one boat and Canada can stay in the lead, they could make the final. All about this manoeuvre. This first turn here will be massive in this race, Todd. Can any of the boats stay on the foils? Watch in now. 30 kilometres an hour at the top of the mast is the magic number. If they can stay over that, they should be able to foil. Green for France, green for Denmark, and they're still foiling on Canada. Wow, great manoeuvres under pressure. Penalty on Denmark, though. They must have gone out of bounds. Means they're going to have to drop back 20 metres compared to the French, which will put them behind the French boat here, I'd have thought. They're going to have to drop back without losing too much distance. It's all on in this race for the final here. Canada, what a performance under pressure, Todd, at gate 2.
Very calm. Phil Robertson, the driver for Canada SailGP. Remember, they had a great mid-season form, and they were looking very good, Canada was, as they were coming off a great showing not only in Chicago, but a good showing in Bermuda as well.
Yeah, this is really interesting. If the results stay as they are right now, Canada will make that final and Great Britain will not make the final. So really important race.
Can't have been easy for you to say that, Hannah. I wouldn't have thought there. The French in second, well, they're sailing a great race here under pressure. Look how tight it is in the pack. Canada just struggling to stay on the foils. Looks like the disturbed wind of the fleet coming down to the gate, slowing them up. Jimmy Spithill, he's got himself back in the race here, but he's going to need some serious places on the here. New Zealand boat, one more turn before the gate. The Swiss, New Zealand can't go inside the Swiss. The Swiss have the right of way here. Nightmare time for the Kiwi boat. It looks like he's going to try and push in. There's no room. Oh, surely that... Eye of a needle, Todd.
This is the umpire's penalty. New Zealand relative Switzerland not entitled to mark room.
That could be it.
2 penalties for barging.
That could be the final. Too aggressive. Barging in is how Craig described it. He's got to get back behind the Swiss now, well behind the Swiss. He's going to have disaster. New Zealand almost got themselves back into a hunt of a final race.
Are you surprised that he didn't go to the other side and follow the Americans?
He'd just done a turn there, Todd. Look, he's only just green on his mast and he's trying to dive inside. Switzerland owned the right. There's no room for the New Zealand boat. There's only room because Seb Schneider turns away to allow him in. I think they know the standings, Todd. You've got to make this final. Burling knew he had to be aggressive. One step too far.
So at the halfway point of this 5th race of the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Near, and it is on. France, Australia, USA, they could be in a position now to get themselves, because Jimmy Spithill and the USA team, Hannah, they're up to 4th.
Yeah, they're up to 4th. They are absolutely flying along this leg. And as you can see, bottom left of our screen, currently they're sitting in that top 3 podium position, which is an amazing achievement and a great comeback.
Canada out in front. Denmark sits in 2nd. France way on the left-hand side of the course, and they are in 3rd.
And they've turned near the city there, Todd, and they've fallen off the foils. They're under 30 kilometres an hour. So this is going to be a big moment for the French. I think the French and the Australians, I don't know if anyone can fully relax, but they've got the best chance to relax, really. Canadians, well, they need the US to make a mistake now. It's a bit out of the Canadians' hand. All they can do, sail the boat fast, sail away.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can. I mean, they won the last race, they're leading this race. That's all we can expect in terms of a chance to make that final.
Graphic on the left, that's how it is right now on the course, but still a lot to sail for. Still legs 3 through 6 to go, and the conditions changing, as we've heard from Lisa Darmana down on the water. Very shifty, very puffy. There you see the USA boat trying to keep themselves in that top 4 position. If they can do that, stay ahead of Australia and Spain and New Zealand, Great Britain, they've got a shot.
Yeah, I mean, every maneuver is such high tariff at this point. You know, every position counts. So the crews will really be feeling that pressure when it comes to the maneuvers.
I wonder if Phil knows it, because he could maybe aim at Jimmy Spithill here and make it hard for the American boat. I wonder how well he knows the points. Can he make the American boat? No, he's not being... That's unlike Phil Robertson. A nice, generous move there. Could have gone a bit closer to the US, in my opinion, and made it hard for him. There we go, Denmark second. What are these guys? What have they done overnight, Canada and Denmark? They were at the back of the pack yesterday and they looked brilliant, but who? Jimmy Spithill on the United States boat there. Wow, they're doing such a nice job working through the fleet. Contan de la Pierre, he's got a chance to dive inside. He's going to take it. That was perfectly legitimate, I think, for me there for Contan. Jimmy back to 4th, clinging on to the final though with a 4th place. This next turn in by the Cadiz shoreline could be crucial for the Americans. Fall off the foils, could be a place in the final at risk.
USA needs to get back up on the foils and start their attack of the French, who sit in 3rd. That's a position they desperately would like to have. Canada way out in front right now.
I don't know a lot of French, but c'est super is good news for the French boat, and they're in 3rd, sailing the boat nicely. And really they're dominating the overall standings at the moment. They're right up there with the Australians, pushing hard. Australia 5th. America have stayed on the foils. That's good news for the United States fans there as they head on this downwind leg. Great Britain, top of screen. Oh my word, 9th place. Maybe that rudder issue that we talked about has let them down.
The race to the final continues on. The positions continue to change. Right now it would be Australia, France, and USA in the final, with Canada missing out by 1 point.
Here we go. French, they're in space. United States set up to turn. The French set up to turn at the same time. Let's watch them manoeuvre here. Can they keep the boat foiling? Contan de la Pierre driving. Francois Morvan on the flight control there as they spin the how fast they turn the boat. Still green at the top of the mast for the French. It looks like they're going to stay on the foils, but foiling away at the front, Todd. Canada.
Canada on leg number 5. This is the penultimate leg. It's up to the top of the course on a left-hand turn. Can they make it 2 wins in a row? But Stevie, at this point, even if they win this race, they need help from the rest of the fleet. They need some people to get past the USA and France and some other teams to move up and push the Americans down the ladder. Otherwise, they're going to miss out by just a mere point.
Yeah, but they can only control their destiny. One bad manoeuvre for the Canadians and they could lose out to this Danish crew who are sailing very well today. But yes, they need the United States to lose 1 play. Remember, if it's a tie, Todd,
right.
If they're both tied on points, it's whoever's done best in this last race. And obviously for Canada, that's pretty good news. But the United States are aiming almost straight at them at the moment. Potentially a penalty here. United States, they're slow. Can they stay foiling? No, they can't. This could be crucial here. Can the United States get back on the foils before the Australians or the Swiss come into the scene? Nice job by the United States boat there. Oh, Jimmy, one more turn. He wants a right turn. They obviously feel there's a lot more. The whole fleet has sailed back towards Cadiz. Looks like it's good on that side, Hannah.
Yeah, I mean, both legs, we've seen the fleet wanting to get to that shore side towards the city. There must be more pressure over there, so it must be the favoured side. And they're doing more manoeuvres to be able to get there, which says a lot in these tricky conditions.
Ooh, the USA boat gets very high as they go around gate number 4. You know, for Canada, guys, you got to look to day number 1, Stevie. You know, you can't win the regatta on day number 1, but you can certainly throw it away. And Canada's performance on day 1 was not stellar. They got a 7th. They got a 6th, and they got an 8th.
Well, they are, but look at that, as you say. I mean, right now, 2 first, but they're still 1 point away from the United States. It's all about, can the United States hang on to their 4th position on the water, which gives them 3rd in this race to the final at the moment. Oh, it's so tight. Well, they're struggling to keep foiling there on the American. Jimmy Spittle, let's go on to H1. Let's put the boat down in the water. We're not going fast enough to fly the boat in the air. We've got to sail slower and on the ground. And right as they fall off the foils, the Canadian boat manages to pop the boat up on the foils. Phil Robertson's really happy here, he says. But what isn't happy, look at these ladder lines, Todd. It's under 50 metres as they're progressing left to right of the screen up the course. It's tight with the Canadians. They need to stay ahead of the Danish boat to have a shot.
The USA just flying one hole right now. They maintain that 4th position right now. France in front of them. Canada really not a concern for the USA squad, but the USA squad is a big concern for Canada. Great Britain now just heading downwind in 9th place.
Yeah, it's a big, disastrous day for the British boat. I'm sure there's going to be serious debrief after this for them here. This result is not good news. But right now, the Canadians, they've turned. They've probably got one more turn to do on board the Canadian boat on the right-hand side of our screen. Danish boat chasing down Phil Robertson, but I think it's going to be too little too late for Nikolai Serhestedt. It's going to be another win. So now it's all about, can Jimmy Spittle's United States team stay in 4th and make it to another final?
Yeah, and we can just see, just on the left of our screen, how far ahead actually the USA team are of their closest rivals, the Swiss and the Australian teams. So from here, I think they'd have to have a real major one to drop back any further. So almost guaranteed into that final.
Through the last gate goes Phil Robertson and the Canadians as they approach the finish line. What a day it has been for the Canadians. They win race 4. They back it up with a win in race number 5.
Oh, snake eyes for Canada there, Todd. 2 firsts. What an absolutely brilliant day sailing by. And the Danish. I mean, you've got to hand it to the coaching staff on both those teams to pick them up. And then both teams have come out incredibly today, performance-wise. But as you say, can't win it if you've had a bad first day.
Yeah, what a difference a day makes, because Canada goes 1-1, Denmark goes 4-2, and France will come in and a nice performance in race number 4. That gave them a 5th and a 3rd here as they cross the line in 3rd place.
Oh, there you go. Happy. That's a good result there. And well, you've got to say, Jimmy Spittle, they were over at the start. Nearly had a big incident with the Kiwis. Oh, here we go. I think this is Paul Campbell-James. It's tight.
Yeah, they're doing math on board.
It is tight, Campbell. I've spent a bit of time with Paul, and I'm not sure I'd be trusting his maths, to be perfectly honest. But I think in this instance, he might have it right. The wing trimmer, Paul Campbell-James, trying to fly that big wing sail and do his maths at the same time.
And the USA will cross the line in 4th place. Have they done enough to clinch a spot in the podium?
They have, if Hannah Mills has got her sums right. Here we go. Listen in, what a performance, because they were right in the pack.
Yep.
That was a brilliant performance to work their way through the fleet by the US boat there.
But you almost have to go back to the 4th race, or the first race of today, and Spithill and company, when they were in the very back, they were in dead last and 9th, and they worked their way up to 6th place, which salvaged so many points, and they may get into that podium race by virtue of 1 point.
Did somebody say comeback?
Loves that word. So Switzerland now coming in. Will they grab the 5th place? Everyone jockeying for positions, but at this point, Stevie, it looks like it is a done deal.
Yeah, I think they've punched the tickets there. The Australians have sailed well all weekend. They've just scrapped when they needed to scrap. And nice to see the Swiss finishing with a good result. Yep. Big improvements in this race for the Swiss team, and you know, obviously trying to take those learnings they've had from the last few events with Nathan Outridge on the team. Not here this weekend, though.
Seb Schneider and Switzerland SailGP cross the line with a 5th place.
It's going to be a question of timing here. Right-hand side of the screen, there's the red start line. It's going to turn white when we're clear to go. And it's that pole position. The French boat looks well lined up for pole position, but foiling out the back, it's Slingsby. They're going to look on a timed run in from here. But as the boats turn down, I like the position of the French. If they can get fast enough to foil. How's your timing on board the boats here? The French look good. It goes green. Let's watch for the line to turn white. Clear start, great start by De La Pierre, but look at the speed on the Australian. Slingsby, can he slingshot through the middle?
And they are 3 wide as they make their way to mark number 1 here in the podium race.
Great start by the French there, and I think if they can turn away here, how important is this first manoeuvre after Mark 1, Hannah?
Yeah, this is so important. This is a massive part of the race. A fantastic start by the French team there, getting their timing spot on, up on the foils, hitting that line at max speed. But this first manoeuvre is absolutely everything. I think they'll all probably try and hang on close to the boundary to try and minimise manoeuvres, but yeah, then the pressure's on.
Tom Slingsby's worried about the American boat stealing their wind. If they steal their wind, he's going to have to turn away, because if that happens, he's just going to slow up. So for the moment, look at the ladder line. It's a 50-metre lead, if not more, for Quentin de la Pierre on the French. But that boundary's looming large, and when they go to do this turn on the boundary with just 4 on the boat, pressure, pressure, pressure. Can they stay foiling? The Australians have done a bad one. Oh, it's going to be a big loss for
they splashed down.
Yeah, big loss coming up for them here, Todd. But can the other team stick the turn? Tom Slingsby, it's going to be a long race. It's going to be really long if he's not happy.
Yep.
Not happy. And look, the 2 boats in front have stayed on the foils. This is a massive moment. Brilliant manoeuvre.
So you have the winners of the last event in Saint-Tropez, USA SailGP, and France looking for their first overall SailGP regatta victory. Does it come today in Spain, or will the Americans spoil that, and Australia's got to come to terms? They're now 200 metres back.
USA looks fast. Jimmy Spithill going to be on the inside at gate 2 here. It's going to be advantage USA at the bottom. Excuse you for the industrial language there as they come in. A slight tense moment for Jimmy Spithill. Look, he's put the bow in the water, sticks it down. Can he stay foiling? He's going to hold the inside here as they enter the yellow circle. That gives him the right of way. De la Pierre's going to have to follow. Oh, the French fall down off the foils as well. They're just fast enough at the moment, though. Look at the American boat there, he flies too high. Oh no, massive moment. France spins around behind, turns away. They put the boat down. It's all going to be about the re-acceleration now. Tom Slingsby said it's going to be a long race. Oh my Lord, the pressure's on these crews.
So tight quarters at gate number 2 between the USA and France. They both have a moment. Now it's time to clear that water and get back up and sailing.
He turns up into the wind. As you turned the wind up here, the boat just starts to get too much lift on that main foil, and it just stalled. It was going too slowly to stay in the air. It jumped up, and what goes up must come down. Jimmy Spithill there struggling on the steering wheel at the back, and well, still early enough in the race for that not to be totally decisive.
Stevie, does that happen if they have 6 crew members on board?
Oh, it's a good question. Mistakes happen with any number of crew members on the boat. That was purely a mistake, Todd. I think there's a lot more pressure on the drivers, as Hannah said. They're now flying the boat. We can see 2 of the athletes there, Manon and that's Mathieu Van Dam, are on the pumps. They're on the handles, controlling the big wing sail, helping Kevin Pepinay pull it in. But yeah, right hand is Quentin's steering, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a big moment coming up as well when the French boat have to manoeuvre and turn back the other way. The American boat will have right of way, and this is a big moment coming up in the race.
They're up and foiling, Hannah. That's got to be a pretty good feeling if you're on that French boat, over 150 metres ahead.
France would be getting their very first SailGP event victory if they can hold on here. And what a day to do it, Stevie. This is 1 year removed, really, almost to the date that Quentin de la Pierre took over for the French team.
Yeah, in some ways, maybe controversially took over.
Yep.
You know, Billy Besson had some not bad results at that point, but yes, it's a good moment. It's gone green on the American boat. They're 100 metres behind at the moment, but as soon as you start getting on the foils, it can make a big difference.
Yeah, and we can just see with this graphic kind of how much the Australians kind of struggled, you know, how far behind they are. But they are making a good comeback. I'm impressed to see actually how much they've clawed their way back. I think it's never over till it's over, this race.
Remember, green means go. When you see those numbers at the top of the masthead go green, that means they've got the speed to go foiling, and that's what they're all shooting for. When it dips below 30, you got problems. And right now, the French sitting at 40, the Americans just tipping over 30.
French are doing a good job, but every time the camera pans back and we see the Australian boat, I can't help but hear the theme tune from Jaws. And they're just coming. They don't go away, the Australians. We know that. They're going to be looming in the background. But if the French can keep sailing as well as this, they're going to take some catching.
At the halfway point of the podium race between France, the USA, and Australia, it is a tight one. The French trying to hold on to this lead and get their first victory as we check in down on the water, and Lisa Darmanin.
Well, Todd, the wind's actually picked up a bit, which is ironic now that they've got 4 people on board, but it's still super patchy, which is why we're seeing them sometimes foil and sometimes not. They're really going to converge as they head towards gate number 4, and I think this left turn that the French are about to do is definitely the favoured side, so I would expect the Americans to follow.
On that, as the French will be the first ones to turn down the course, the Americans are up and foiling again, if so barely, and again they go high, Stevie, and come down. You talk about riding a Bronco. That's kind of the situation they're dealing with out here today.
Yeah, I think you've suddenly only got one hand to control that main foil, whereas you had one of the athletes purely focused on that. Contan, Jimmy, in this situation, are having to drive the boat but also fly the boat, and I just think they can't move it quick enough to adapt to the way the sea state's moving. The sea state is changing the load on that foil. More load, you lift up out the water, which is normally good, but too high, and it's a bit of a shocker. French are off the foils though in the background. Look at that, 16 kilometers an hour. They're going to struggle. Big mistake by them. USA set up for the turn. They put the bow in the water as well. Can they stay foiling? At the moment they're fast enough. Oh my word, this is going to compress. Oh, the French are still off the foils.
This is huge for the Australians. If they can keep up and foiling and get through that manoeuvre, they might be back in this race.
And look in the background, great viewing up on the seawall for the thousands of fans who have turned out today for the Spain Sail Grand Prix. And right in front of them, one of the most dramatic moments of the race as France puts it in the water. The USA follows, and here they come. The Australians, the 2-time reigning and defending champions, they have closed the gap.
The French are on the foils again though, Todd, and they're still some 200 metres ahead of the Australians. But if this next turn, if the Australians manage to do it well, they're going to be really back in the race with leg 4 of 6 here. We're over the halfway mark of this final. It's getting down to the real pressure moment. Look, right-hand side of the screen, Australia. Can they stay on the foils? Not sure they can in the background there as the French set up for their next turn. Watch them turn. Nice smooth turn by Contan de la Pierre on the wheel there. The boat's still dry at the moment. A dry boat is a very, very happy boat. What a manoeuvre by the French. Oh, here Manon working so hard on the handles there. She's on her own, got to pull in that big wing sail for Kevin Pepinay there. It's a massive effort as the French, they're nearly too high out the water. And we look at the head-to-heads here. Well, the average speed, that's the one that's defining it for me. The French on average and just that bit faster around the course. Maybe not flying as much as the Australians, but they're going faster on average.
Yeah, this is really impressive by this French team. Probably one of the least experienced teams sailing in this combination of 4 up as well.
And just like that, the USA squad has found some pressure. So look at their speed starting to build. Going over 45 kilometers an hour to the French's 40.
Oh no, they've put the bow into the water there. Can they stay flying? The speed's falling away really, really quickly here. It's light winds at the bottom. Still just about quick enough, but the US are going fast. Here we go, one more turn for Jimmy Spittle. Will he follow the French? Looks like he's going to. I'm surprised. Are you surprised he's following there, Hannah?
Yeah, I am surprised he's following. I mean, I think that side of the course is definitely favoured. You know, we've seen all the teams wanting to head over there, but to get down to that mark, he had to come off the foils. And so, yeah, he's put himself in a bit of a tricky position here now following the French.
I just feel like that was maybe a conservative move, not a move to win the event. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Slingsby chooses to do on the Australian boat at the bottom here. Aiming right at the Americans. It's the Australians with the right of way. And we're on board the French. And we can see, looking back at Jimmy Spittle, USA and the French, we're on board looking back. Both teams look pretty relaxed at the moment. Who's going to be first to foil? Spittle called for a pop on the foil, and there, sure enough, they're up and out of the water. When the 2 boats meet again, it's going to be the United States with the right of way. That might not be for another minute or so, but they're flying, and that's got to be a good sign for US fans.
This is leg 5 of 6. It's to the top of the course and then a left-hand turn to the finish line, and a champion will be crowned. Right now it is France that has about a 100-meter lead over the USA. Australia now coming back into the picture again. Stevie, cue the Jaws music.
Here they come. I think it could be too little too late. The battle now is, can the Americans execute this next turn and get back up on the foils quickly? The French, they're still not green. Oh, they've just turned green on the top of their mast. They should be fast fast enough to foil, but as they come back together, the American boat, the US team, are going to have the right of way. The French must keep clear.
And a pretty nice maneuver there, Hannah.
Yeah, that is impressive. They were just at the speed limit of trying to make a foiling tack, and I think they've just about got away with that. But as you can see, that the French team are coming across, and I think they're still going to stay ahead. Yeah, they're just still ahead of the USA team.
Crucially here, Todd, it's how many more times have they got to turn the boat before they can make the next gate? We can see we're leg 5 of 6. There's 50 meters in it. There's nothing in it, but
look at the speed. Look at the speed.
Yeah, and even in French, Todd, they say ley line. That's what they're talking about. Where's the point that we can turn and make the next gate? The USA will have to turn the boat 2 more times at least. If the French can do it in 1, the French will win this.
Quentin Delapierre looking to keep his cool as he will have 1 more maneuver to make, and then it'll thread the needle through the gate, and the finish line will await him some 200 meters down.
Oh, they're flying too high there, Todd, as they set up. Wow, they've got out. Going to lose a lot of speed in that. Nice turn. Go 4-4-4, strong man on. That's Kevin Pepinay. We can see there's nothing at the yellow line here. That's the ley line. If the French can stay sailing parallel to that, they should make the gate. Here come the USA.
And the USA, though, Stevie, to your point, they have 1 more maneuver to make.
They do. 1 more maneuver. Can they get across? And also the French have the right of way. That could be crucial as well. If it's close, the Americans are going to have to avoid the French.
Less than 50 meters separate them, and Hannah Mills, it will all come down to this final maneuver for the Americans, and if they can keep foiling.
Yeah, this is absolutely massive. This is the race-winning maneuver.
Let's
see if they can make it.
Oh, they're going to try too hard. It's so tight. Now the French have got to keep clear of the Americans. The Americans have the right of way. Jimmy Spithill knows that, but the French boat's foiling. Can Jimmy put him off his foils? Expect an aggressive move from the Americans coming.
Classic match race in the final gate. It's the Americans on the inside, the French on the outside.
It's going to be a sprint now. They're both off the foils, Todd. It's a sprint to the foils, and there's the finish line coming into view.
Separated by just a few meters. With the finish line there, who will get the win as they come to the line here in Spain? And it will be France getting their first victory in SailGP St. Magnifique.
Oh, they blur.
What a race.
What a performance as the crew was reduced from 6 to 4 and Quentin Delapierre just holding off the pit bull. Jimmy Spithill closing in, giving a wave and a classy move as France gets their first victory. Team USA will settle for 2nd, and here come the 2-time defending and reigning champions and series leaders Australia taking 3rd.
Wow. What a great race that was, Todd. What an amazing performance by the French.
One of the best finishes we've seen all year long, and it's France in the end that prevails.